An increasing number of businesses are facing staffing shortages. As such, they're turning to gig workers to fill the gaps. We spoke with Wayne Goshkarian of the Association for Entrepreneurship to learn more. Wayne, it's good to see you again. Thanks so much for joining us here on Arizona Horizon. Let's start with defining terms. What is a gig worker?
Well, a gig worker in the modern day terms is someone that works on their own. They're an entrepreneur. They're sitting at home. They could be anywhere in literally the world, and they've decided to start their own business. You know, with the advent of the internet, smartphone, and all the technology that we have today with all these apps, it's really created a whole different world in the gig world, if you want to call it that.
And so, indeed, we are seeing an increase in gig workers?
Well, absolutely. You know, I mean, when you really look at what the internet and the smartphone has done to our lives today. I mean, I was watching TV and this guy had an app, and he goes into this store, this secondhand store, and he scans the barcode. It checks that it's on Amazon for $60, and he could buy that for $10. And at the same time, he could post it to his Amazon account. I mean, that wasn't around when I was growing up, and I'm 62.
Yeah.
So the reality is the world has changed so much, and it's just really accelerated people's thinking in what they really want to do in their lives.
Who are these folks? Who is turning to gig work? Retirees? I mean, entrepreneurs? What are you seeing out there?
Well, you know what? That's a great question. I'll break that down into three parts. Let's start with the retirees. I don't know who's retiring at 65 these days with, you know, gas at $4 a gallon down the street. So the reality is it's just a very small percentage of the retirees that truly can be financially well off enough to travel and do all the things they've talked about most of their lives. So the rest of them are having to supplement their income. Grandma's maybe, you know, doing daycare in the house with 4 or 5 kids during the day with working moms. Grandpa's doing the Uber. The list goes on and on. So we have a big retiree population that's using gig to supplement their income. So let's go to the people that are working adults. You know, it's not like when my grandparents settled in Ellis Island, they got a job, they worked somewhere for 30 years. My parents did the same thing. The world's different. It used to be you worked at a bank for 30 years. Now the bank's names change 4 or 5 times. Technology is phasing out some of these jobs. So many of these employees are looking at ways of increasing their standard of living, and they're not seeing it at the workplace. But more importantly, is the coronavirus really accelerated that. I mean, if you can remember back to March of 2020, you're sitting at the kitchen table, you're looking at your spouse and saying, how are we going to make a living? Is our employer going to call us back? And I think that got people much more interested. And then you take all the shows on TV today, and you watch Shark Tank and all these other things, and you say, just take Storage War, for example. You buy storage cabinets in an auction, and then you sell those items at a secondhand store or whatever. But let's talk about the younger generation that when they were born, the iPhone was around, okay? And now they're going into high school and now college and really rethinking, do they really want to work for someone? And then many of the colleges today all across the country, in fact, we at the association hire interns from Grand Canyon University. They're looking at starting their own businesses. They're looking at technology and building apps and all this other stuff. So I broke it up into 3 pieces because each one of them is looking at the gig economy in a different way.
And with that, Wayne, last question here, because we're running out of time, but I am curious as far as the challenges for gig workers. Healthcare plans, you know, employer-driven healthcare plans, employer-driven retirement plans, paid time off, these sorts of things, are they a thing of the past in the gig economy?
Well, insurance is probably the single biggest challenge for gig workers because they are used to their employer providing also subsidizing health insurance and other benefits. So that's probably the big single thing. Of course, they could go on to the exchange and access Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act. But, the challenges are really, do they have enough self-discipline without someone telling them to be at work at 8 o'clock? Okay, so you really have to have a lot of self-discipline. But, I think people, there's a lot to know, like, how do I get a domain? Do I need to start an LLC? How do I open up a business checking account? Do I run my business off of Venmo? I mean, there's so many things that are challenges. We may not think of twice about going to GoDaddy, which is a local company, and getting our own domain. Some people use marysmithhairdressing@gmail.com. So there's so many things that are out there that are challenges, but the upside benefits are the opportunity to make more money than you typically would do at work.
All right, Wayne Goshkarian, Association for Entrepreneurship USA. Wayne, always a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.